Very good evening to all the participants. I welcome our guest of this session, Professor Karnam Narendra. And this is the 15th session and third session of the day. We can call is the last session of 3 days faculty development program organized by Kids School of Mass Communication. And I'm thankful to all the participants who constantly, we can say, participated and involved in the process in the last 3 days, we can say. And now I would like to request our host coordinator, Dr. Bhushan Das, to introduce our guest and the topic, the theme of the speech.
Uh,
Sir, and
yeah, thank you. Am I audible?
yes, sir, you're
audible, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, esteemed the speaker of the last thematic session, we can say, and my dear participants for the faculty development program organized by Kids School of Mass Communication, Bhubaneswar. Professor K. Narendra is a very renowned professor and seasoned academicians in the country. And as he had other assignment, we reshuffled the session. Professor Narendra is a senior professor at Osmania University, Hyderabad, the Dean of Social Science of the university. He is also Director of Educational Multimedia Research Center, EMRC. He is having more than 3 decades of teaching experience. It will be great to listen him. And Sir is talking on media education versus industry mismatch. How do we fine-tune courses to bridge the gap? So welcome to you, sir, and over to you.
Can I suggest one thing, please? Yeah, can we have an interactive session on this, because the topic is very clear, and if there are questions, then I will address quickly.
Yes, of course, sir.
I'll brief about. Yeah.
Will you start just a brief?
Yeah, I'll brief about. First and the foremost, I congratulate the organizers to have a faculty development program on a virtual mode. That's the way to go in pandemic. I guess you've got an overview of all that is required to make faculty resolute, strong in their areas of work. I feel that a lot is a mismatch in terms of our course curriculum and the requirements of the industry. That's the reason why I suggested this topic. I've come across in mass communication and journalism, because I don't have the background of it. I don't know the faculty members are from different faculties or from journalism.
From journalism, mostly.
From journalism, specialist from journalism.
Yeah. So a lot of journalism, as you are aware, is practical in nature, where hands-on experience is required to groom oneself into the field of activity that he gets in. It's unfortunate but true that a lot of theory goes along in dealing with the subject, which is what is a misnomer for the industry. Industry believes in producing a newspaper, producing a TV bulletin, producing a news capsule in order to make people attract. While we go to theorize a lot and try to paint a picture on the board. Though in a teaching learning center, theory is important, we cannot rule out the importance of theory. But the over-dependence on theory has led to a lot of boredom in communication and journalism. As you are aware, many of the practicing journalists or media persons join the course and leave it midway. Why do you think this happens? This happens fundamentally because there's nothing new that is imparted. to the professionals. Resulting in what? Resulting in a kind of drum up about teaching and learning centers, especially dealing with communication and mass communication journalism, that all that you have to unlearn when you get into the profession. There's a systematic drum up that happens in the media space where journalism students and teachers alike are ridiculed. My concern is, unless and until we reshape the course based on our own understanding of the media and the nuances that are practical in nature, what is required is to do fundamental changes in terms of our own course curriculum. How do we go about it? We did an exercise in our university wherein we factored in almost 60% from the professionals. The board of studies that we call in journalism and mass communication has more than 60% of professionals drawn from television, from print publications, from online media, so on and so forth. And we tossed the syllabus onto the screen, and in a unitized way, we looked into the syllabus and tried to do the course correction, incorporating what is most practical and hands-on. That has added a lot of value in the last 5 to 10 years, wherein our students get a hands-on on doing a page up for a publication, for doing a story and sharing it in the departmental publication, for doing a television program and sharing it with students and faculty of the department to critique. Resulting in what? Resulting in a kind of confidence in the student. And that confidence stems out of what is practical in nature. So I don't undermine the theoretical base of any course. What is essential is to make it as practical so that we go to build that confidence in the student. And that confidence goes to create laurels for our own faculty as they practice in real life. I think that in a nutshell is needed in order to make courses relevant. And especially in an application course like mass communication journalism, it's a prerequisite for anyone to take it forward in the media. How do we then have this going? A constant interaction with the media and the media professionals should always be there with the departments, 1. 2, get the professionals to talk to the students on a day-on-day basis and show them how qualitatively different you are in terms of your approach to the students. When they are convinced, they won't go and ridicule us in the media space. What is now happening is the first line that comes out of any editor is, please unlearn whatever you have learned in journalism school. Why do they say this? They say this because our own course curriculum doesn't match to the practical requirements of the profession. And that happens out of a lot of hands-on feel on the terminal, on the camera, off the camera, on the edit suite, and so on and so forth. See, I can talk about feature writing at length and say 100 different things. But unless and until I contribute a feature to the publication, local or national, it's not going to change the world's perception. I think when we have a practical approach to the entire mass communication and journalism, we will certainly thrive. We will create our own space and turn into great professionals, because professionally you are groomed in theoretical framework as well. The backgrounding that happens in terms of communication theory, communication research, so on and so forth, helps a student get a holistic perspective of what communication is all about. So therefore, I reinforce that it is not just theoretical framework, but a good combination of theory and practicals is needed, which is what is lacking in journalism schools. As long as we engage our students in doing something that is a product-oriented, a result-oriented, we will thrive. This in a nutshell, I wanted to share. I'm sorry I had some urgent meeting with the Joint Secretary of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. That's how I got in late. I will now open myself to the floor to answer any question.
I request all the participants to drop down their questions in the chat box, or they can unmute themselves and they can ask the questions directly.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
I do 100% agree with you and with your points that you have put in this session. Definitely, if we analyze the total strength of the students, those who are taking admission in mass communication in various institutes, even undergraduate colleges and the universities, 95%, even more than 95% students are interested for the industry, are joining, are taking admission to make them fit for the industry.
Correct.
But at the same time, hardly 3 to 4% students, those who are taking interest in research, those who are taking interest in academics, and those who are trying to go for higher studies and coming back to the academic folder. So in that case, as you have told that in the Board of Studies designing or member constitution for the Board of Studies, in our university, we have included the industry people from advertising, from public relation, from television, from radio, from all, or even in different stages, in pre-BOS and Board of Studies, in academic council, everywhere we have put industry people. And regularly we are organizing the classes for the students by industry experts, like interaction with industry experts. Just I want to share one experience. Long back when I was working with television, and when I came to my own alma mater, to my university, when I entered into the class, I got the difference what we got in the campus and what exactly there in the industry. For working for almost 2 decades in broadcasting industry, when you are going back to your institution, you find what is the difference, where exactly the students are lacking. So it is really, I support your stand that when you are preparing your students for the industry, then you have to give the practical exposure to them.
Absolutely.
Unless until they know how to write the picture, how to present before the camera, how to design a program, how can they work when they go to the industry?
See, technology has made our life very simple. We don't need elaborate studios. We don't need anything at all in the current context. What we need is a handheld device. Handheld device has changed the life in every front. That we are talking to each other through virtual mode itself shows that I'm using a mobile to get to you.
Yes.
So what we need to teach to the students is turn the camera, turn the mobile, face the camera confidently, say those lines. The P2C that we do, in the case of television, you said you are from television. I had one major center called Educational Multimedia Research Center as the director.
Yes, sir. I know.
So what is important is no more you need big studios, crores of rupees as investment. Technology has gone fixed. You can evolve as an individual by way of building up that confidence to communicate. That fundamental communication, in what proportion and in what portion you do, is important. And that is the need of the hour. What is happening is instead, we are turning to the to the board and trying to rub too much of theory onto the student, resulting in what? Resulting in a kind of boredom in mass communication and journalism teaching. Students get fed up very soon, and the attrition or the attendance rate is hitting lows every other time. Why do you think this happens? This happens fundamentally because you're not making the class interesting by involving the student in a practical aspect.
Yes. Doing by learning, learning by doing.
Learning by doing.
Yes.
And we don't do that and blame the student for it. Very unfortunate, but true.
Absolutely, sir. I do 100% agree with you.
Very unfortunate, but true.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, any other question, please?
May I raise a concern or question relating to curriculum at university level? For instance, in my university here in KIT, recently we restructured the board of studies. And as per the new rule, I don't know whether it is the new rule of our university only or it is the UGC mandate, I'm not sure. As per the new circular, we have a new structure, and where there are people from in-house, that means from the school, there are people from the industry, as Dr. Fakir told about taking from diverse industry into the board. We have done the same practice. And there is one more component here also to include few people. There is another group called student, alumni, and other professor from the university.
Very nice, very nice.
In that sense, the new...
That is the structure. That is the structure.
Okay.
All the stakeholders are the part of your board of studies. Student representative, alumni, at the same time, even experts, academic experts from other universities,
yeah,
and the industry experts from industry. So they all constitute the board of studies.
Yeah, what I'll do is I will share one very good thing that we have done as an experiment in our university.
Yes, sir.
What we have done is subject is taught in a unitized way. There are 5 units in each of the paper, right? Say reporting and editing, you have 5 units. So what we have done is we in the faculty sat together and created a syllabus befitting the requirement. We called the industry people who are experts in reporting and editing and tossed the syllabus onto the screen and did the correction, incorporating all their suggestions into the syllabus. Resulting in what? Resulting in a very practical approach to reporting and editing. I can safely tell you from then on, there is almost 90% of absorption in the media. Because UGC was kind enough to give us 30 computers. Now they pound on the keyboard to get there in the media space, directly sitting in the lab. Yes. So it's that change that is required to make it more practical and industry oriented. As long as we create that space, there's always respect for the profession that we get in as teachers.
Yes, sir. Basically, when we talk about the stakeholders, we are sharing the syllabus with them, the curriculum with them, and take their feedback on their domain. Based on that, make necessary changes in the curriculum.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And, that exactly helps in developing students for the industry.
It doesn't mean because no journalist worth his paper can ever talk about sourcing. Sourcing that we talk about in reporting is a subject by itself. I take at least 6 classes because I work for the Illustrated Weekly of India and the Times of India group. So I take 6 classes at least to handle sourcing, just the sourcing. So what happens is when you're talking about primary, secondary, tertiary sources, industry people don't even know how it is done. They don't understand the nuances of what it is. So, but then they are good at, on a particular human rights story, whom do you source? So when we are talking of human rights, how do we go about doing a story related to human rights is what we need to factor in. And
Exactly.
if we do that, we are one up. We are creating talent which befit the requirements of the industry.
May I add one point here, sir?
Yeah, please.
As you mentioned about source, it's a very interesting point to refer. If the industry people will not understand exactly what's the problem, what's the source, how it will create problem. Let me share two recent examples. In one late evening around 10 o'clock, I got a phone call from Soptik, my colleague. Sir, check your WhatsApp. Okay. In that night, I had gone to bed early. When I saw the WhatsApp group, there is a series of communication in the WhatsApp, students WhatsApp group, and the communication is all about a problem created by television channel, regional television channel. What's the problem? Somebody did a problem and took, I think, two girls from Revensa University and threw them near Kharagpur. And instead of using any graphics there or using the right picture of the right people, the concerned television channel has taken one image from our official website, school website, blurred the face and used that image.
So sad.
And because they don't know the source.
Correct.
Okay. And second example, we all know Richard Mahapatra is a senior journalist in the Down to Earth. Recently, Aaj Tak, let me take the names also. The first instance was happened in case of Kanak News. And I talked to Manoranjan Mahapatra or Manoranjan Misra, somebody who is the news at 12 o'clock in the night. And even they don't know how to beg apology after doing such mistakes. Next day morning, my students in Sambalpur, my students in Kolkata went to the SP office, complained something happened later. And then they deleted that content from their YouTube.
That was quite a sensitive topic. It had to do with abduction of two girls, something like that.
Yes.
Quite a sensitive topic.
And because they don't know the source.
Blurred also properly.
Yeah.
Sir.
So that is your number one case. Number two case, the recent one. When my wife is a postdoctoral fellow in Graduate Institute Geneva, and her interest is environmental governance, and she was watching Aaj Tak. And in Aaj Tak, it is written that Richard Mahapatra is giving bite. It is written Richard Mahapatra, and the image is given the subordinate of Richard Mahapatra, and it's in Aaj Tak. Because they don't know the source.
Correct.
My point is that, is it always necessary to romanticize that industry is great and we academicians are...
Certainly not.
You can say, yeah.
Certainly not. I am not saying you romanticize. What is important is to impart practical training to build that confidence in the student. How will the student get the confidence? By way of application. And when you apply yourselves well, you are in demand. As simple.
Yeah. There another concern.
Yeah. But you don't have to romanticize, because I am also equal critic of what happens in the field.
So, sir, another concern is that because our school is a new one in the sense it became functional in 2016, 5 years old school, and every year we sit for 2 times. Our board of studies sit for 2 times every year after each semester, and we think what to change, what not to change. And in this process, I have read, you can say, I have read syllabus of most of the leading universities in India and abroad. And sorry to state that when I go through some syllabuses of different universities, for instance, if there is something, and there are a lot of similarities, you can say simply copy paste of the content, the syllabus.
Yes.
And the major concern is, my concern is, and even they're not concerned about when they're changing the font, because they're not changing the font or something like that, for which instead of the correct word, they are having the boxes. And that there is a font problem. I understand that that font may not be supported in the system, and so the word is missing, and there are 8 boxes, 10 boxes in the syllabus. So those
to add to what Dr. Vidhu has just said, with the model code of model course curriculum as suggested by the proposed by the UGC for the BA and the MA courses, we are going to have more cut and paste from now onwards. Here I have one concern as raised by Fakir and also by Vidhu Babu. Vidhu Babu has just telling that he has got, I think, 6 students from KISS, which is a subsidiary of KIIT. It's a social science institute. And they are mostly tribal students, as I understand. Vidhu Babu, they're tribal students. Now, how do you manage them? If you have students from Kenya and you have students from, rural, very rural background, areas of this thing, Odisha. Because I have my problem. When I started, I had a student from Kenya, I had students from Manipur, and I had students who didn't even speak Hindi, or forget about English, they didn't even speak Hindi. They only spoke Haryanvi. Most of my students are from around, I'm from Haryana, and they're from around a radius of 60 kilometers only. They don't even represent the whole of Haryana. And they don't read, forget about English, they don't even read Hindi. I give them 120 points for profiling a village or an institution. I give them 100 points. These are the things these are the information that you can collect. If you want to collect, these are the points on which you can collect information, and then you collect that information, then I'll help you write a profile, or write a feature, or write an interview. But they are not ready to do that.
See,
how
the problem,
do we...
Yeah, the problem with English education is our thrust is always on learning English. And we are going through an English medium kind of a course. In most schools of journalism, it's English medium.
No, I'm not bothered about that, man, because my students get a lot of it.
We should understand that language is a means for communication. As long as the student is comfortable in his own mother tongue, let him reflect in his own mother tongue.
So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Let his assessment be made based on what he writes in his own mother tongue.
That's what I'm saying. They are not even compatible with Hindi. That is what I'm saying. Forget about English. They're not even compatible with Hindi. That's not which is supposed to be their mother tongue. Because at home they speak on.
In journalism school, we cannot go into the rudimentaries of language training, right?
That's what we cannot do that. But how do we see what happens is somebody like Fakir or even he gets students who are from an urban background and they're already exposed. Why I talk about English and why I sometimes emphasize on English is that once you have had an English education, English education, you have had a lot of exposure compared to the unfortunate. No, that's the unfortunate system in our country.
Absolutely.
That gives you a lot of. I shouldn't be using that word with so many social scientists around here. It gives them a lot of privileges, in terms of their exposure level, in terms of their.
Correct.
But when it comes to the rural students who speak only dialects only, don't even speak languages. So how do I motivate them to get into the writing mode, to the creating mode? That's my problem.
See, technology solved much of it. See, if you go into the language here, now it is phonetic based. Much of keying in that happens is based on what your language is, how you speak. So allow them to use that space and let them be creative in their own small ways.
No, I want them to be creative any which way, audio, video, text. That is not the problem. That is not a concern. The concern is that how do I get them to create, whether writing or speaking, some coming up with some audio content or video content, some visualization. The motivation part of getting into the putting on the creative hat.
See, that happens out of the inquisitive nature of the student as well. And enabling of the atmosphere. See, exposing them to the nuances of language and stories in their own language will help. a lot. We have done this kind of experiment in our department.
Like you said that.
I'll share one experience. In terms of Telugu, Telangana dialect is different from Andhra dialect.
I understand that. I'm from Odisha.
Yeah. So there are very many students of Osmania University who come from remote corners of Telangana. They are not well versed with the language of Andhra people. But the many who work in Telugu press or television are from Andhra region. The choice is done based on the region as well. Let us be very clear. Media is also not दूध के धुले हुए नहीं है. So they make a choice out of region. And our students do not understand certain words. So what we did was we highlighted certain keywords which are used in Telangana to that of what is a matching word in Andhra, and made them understand the context in which it is used. When you do that, at some level, there is good understanding.
Say for example, you said that setting a personal example is a great way to motivate students. I write a lot. I'm a poet. I also write in newspapers, and I share those things with my students. I share those things with my students.
I'm so happy.
Through different medium and also in the classroom. And I try to encourage them. This is how we write. This is how we write. This is how I share my process with them. How I collect the information, how I collate it, and how I structure it, how I add elements of style into it. But that's all I can do. But how do I get motivated? Then that's my problem. And problem is that, like yesterday we were also discussing, during this pandemic time, and it has been really bad. The situation is so bad that students are not ready. They are saying, "Sir, हम class में आएंगे कर लेंगे, घर से कुछ नहीं करें." And they're not doing anything. No homework, no nothing.
See, I'll tell you one way to offset that is to mark the background material to the students well in advance, so that they get some exposure. Some exposure
right at the beginning.
Yeah, some exposure before they enter the class.
Like my reading material also, because I teach writing and print journalism, so I give them a whole lot of in addition to the talking points that I use for my classes. I give them that I give those things in advance. I give them definitions. I give them a whole lot of quotes, and I also give them a lot of other reading material. Like suppose I'm talking about a feature, then 3-4 days in advance I'll send them at least 5, 7, 8, 10 the features. The editorials, I'll send them 15, 20 editorials in advance. So that's the kind of even scripts or whatever. We share all those things.
Yeah.
Despite that, I think Vidhu Babu can understand this.
Yeah,
I understand that, because a lot of effort. See, एक हाथ से थाली नहीं बजती साहब.
Sir, you are in Hyderabad. I can understand you. Very good students.
Yeah, एक हाथ से थाली नहीं बजती. It is equal involvement of the student. Teacher and the learner should always be in tandem. Otherwise, it will not happen. If I am not inquisitive as a student, where will it get me? The desired one. As simple. So it's a problem of infusion as well. At the entrance level, we have to create a bar of language. We have to test them for languages. Entrance is diluted now.
Sir, we cannot do that. That's what it's all diluted. Vidhu Babu has to take 5-6 students from KISS.
Couple of general knowledge questions, couple of fill in the blanks, match the following.
That's all.
You are basing on that without looking into the writing ability of the individual. Where will you get the desired talent? Half of them are gallivanting. They don't want to come anywhere closer to communication schools. Right? So we need to raise the bar of the entrance as well, so that we get the desired student.
No, that's not in our hands. That's in the hands of the administration.
No, agreed.
Vedu sir wants to say something.
Yeah.
Can I clarify Dr. Patra's question? In fact, Dr. Patra raised 2 issues. One is regarding UGC syllabus, and second, the diversity in our school. How do we manage? Even I frequently visit UGC syllabus,
Mm.
and even 2 days back, I also visited the UGC syllabus because we have Board of Studies on 30th of June. What the major problem do I find in UGC syllabus? As India is too diverse, that cannot be a model syllabus for people or universities like India. Number one. Why? For instance, in undergraduate course, they have kept photography or photojournalism maybe in 5th or 6th semester. Okay.
Well, that's something you should start with. That's something very basic. Yeah.
Okay. But here at admission level, we take 80,000 rupees admission fee. We provide laptop to the students of 60,000 rupees or something like that. Okay. And every student gets a laptop before taking admission, before entering into the classroom. Every student has better mobile than mine. Okay. So I will not ask, I will not ask him or her to wait up to 5th semester to learn photography.
I understand.
Photojournalism.
Because for someone like you and me, that's something we start with. Photojournalism, something very basic. If not in the first, you started with
and if you look at the UGC syllabus, which is uploaded there in UGC
No, I'm not
website,
talking about that.
Yeah.
All I was saying is that we are going to have more cut and paste because you have the so-called model this thing. I don't agree with that. I don't even question that. But all I'm saying is that we're going to have a lot of cut and paste, something we had talked about. Yeah, that's all.
And second to, coming to my school challenge, as sir mentioned, we have to raise the bar. There are 30,000 students in KIS, but we don't take admission of 30,000 students in our school. We take only 4, 5, 6 students, those who are interested to join and those who qualify the entrance also. Still there is diversity in understanding, and to manage that diversity, what we do, we talk to the students individually.
I know about your mentoring system. That's simply because you have a limited number, that your intake is also small. I have a class of 60. So that means I've got 120 students in the PG program. And we are going to start the undergraduate program. That again, we are going to, that means we are going to have 300 students. How, 5 teachers, 6 teachers, how do you mentor 600?
That's a great challenge. I understand. Yeah. So
another question from Saurav Gupta. Can I address the?
Yes, please.
This is a contentious issue. We can go on and on.
Sir, first of all, thank you very much for bringing us to a very interesting juncture. We usually we do not have this kind of discussions. I would like to make 2 observations which came to my mind, triggered by your discussion. The first point is related to the language, which we were discussing just now. Actually, I am teaching at the Central University of Odisha, which is at Koraput. It is in the borders of Andhra and Odisha. So we have a lot of tribal students here, and some of the students who go in behalf of KIS are also some of students from Koraput. We have a KIS center in Koraput. So what I have observed is that the students who come to pursue PG, they do not know Oriya properly. I mean, when I say Oriya, I mean Oriya is also, there are 3 to 4 kinds of Oriya language with a lot of dialects also, sub-dialects and dialects. So the dominant Oriya, which is used in the press, I mean the Oriya which we speak in the cities like Bhubaneswar, they are not at all comfortable with that. The same situation prevails in my home state, West Bengal also, where the people from Bankura, Purulia, Jangol Mahal, Jhargram, they are not very well acquainted with the Bengali which is spoken in Kolkata. The problem is that I would like to refer here that during the left front regime, there was Dr. Povitra Sarkar Committee on Languages who had recommended that in the primary sections in the schools, only the mother tongue should be taught, and English was abolished from the primary section in all the government schools in West Bengal. The result which happened was, after 2 decades, it was seen that the students who started learning English in the secondary actually could not grab English, and that affected their career also. Sir, in the Many Voices, One World report, I mean the McBride Commission report, there was a recommendation for forming a language policy of our country, which unfortunately we have not been able to do it. And surprisingly, the mass communication curriculum, very conveniently, they avoid inducting language courses in the PG or in the diploma courses also, which I think should be included. And in our university, sir, as an elective paper, we have included Oriya journalism in the last semester. This is one thing, sir. And the second point, which you had said in the beginning of this deliberation, that theory causes a lot of boredom to journalism courses. I sort of agree with you, as long as we stick to the discipline of journalism only. But if we venture into the wider discipline of communication studies, which has sociological elements and elements from a range of other subjects, then I think we need some grounded theory. Otherwise, it is difficult to conduct.
I'm not undermining. Please do not misunderstand me. I'm not undermining the importance of theory. Theory grounding.
No, I am saying that, sir, for journalism, it's fine, sir. You are absolutely right that it causes boredom. And, sir, what I am trying to say is that in our pedagogy or in our universities, we should have a flexibility that students who actually want to pursue a career in journalism, there should be some scope for them to maybe leave at the end of the first year of PG with a diploma. I mean, they should be specialized only in the skills. Whereas others who want to go deeper into the theories and into the knowledge, they can go on and complete their second year. I think we should have a flexible nature.
I agree with you 100%. No denial.
Sir.
I agree with you 100%.
But then I raise this point because you are a very senior person among us. And I think this time, this is the need of the hours. Thank you very much.
Sir, unfortunately, what happens is that we usually offer specializations only in the third and fourth semester. The first and second semester are only general courses.
See, the issue
is... So that is, again, complete orientation is required.
The issue is a thorough dilution of both specialized courses and the skill-oriented courses.
Yes.
Right.
Let us agree. Let us not mince words to say this, that we have thoroughly diluted the importance of skill-oriented courses as well as specialized courses, wherein there is a lot of need for having theoretical base and giving an exposure to the world and so on.
Yes, sir. You are right.
Absolutely. I agree. That needs to be a good a blend of both. A course with a blend. I am not undermining. Please do not misunderstand that I am sort of saying it has to be only practical and nothing else. No. A communication theory is equally important. Research is equally important. Who's undermining it? I'm not undermining it. But the skill-oriented courses that we teach should be hands-on. And technology is bits. See, in many of the institutes, some of the institutes might be having good computer labs and laptops, and students might be rich enough to have a latest mobile and so on and so forth. But in many of the institutes, people do not have access to some fundamentals. What about those? See, we need to address all this. When we are building up a course to make it resolute, we need to understand all this.
Right, sir. Absolutely. I agree with you.
Yes. There should be a proportion kind of thing between the theory and the practical knowledge that we impact students. And academically, the syllabus should be developed. The activities should follow. I request any other participants who have any questions in their mind, they should feel free to ask, or they can chat down the same in the chat box.
Sir, I would agree with sir when he Patra sir that it is an issue of motivation among students. But I would agree with Narendra sir also that it is not like we should not take it too much. That is what I learned from this FDP also, that we should not take it too much on ourselves. It depends on motivation. And like you said, it is not about gadgets, sir. KISS students, some of our KISS students are so active and they are so interested in technology that the children who are coming from a very privileged background are not. So you can bring the horse to the to water, but you cannot make him or her drink it. So
Correct.
anybody who wants to drink, you know, the thirst, if they have the thirst, then they will do it. They'll make blogs. They will not wait for you to give assignments. And I have a humble suggestion that you could make them like maybe write in Haryanvi in their own dialect, maybe create news in their own dialect. Maybe that would spark the.
Unfortunately, Rubiji, that doesn't have a market. The only market that has is that there are only two options. One is in RJ, and there are very few options. Only you can have one RJ, one Haryanvi RJ. Usually, you have somebody who dabbles in Hindi, Punjabi, and also in Haryanvi. And then the second option is that very few of them, only a handful, can get into Bollywood as dialogue writer, because of late you have had some movies where you have Haryanvi characters and Haryanvi dialogues. Other than that, there is no market for Haryanvi. So why should I push them into that? That's my problem. That's my problem. And
community media can be one
I
of
beg to differ, sir. Let me add here. I beg to differ. See, once you hone your skills and create that confidence that is needed to handle whatever, language is just a means. Please.
Understood.
I have known very many Bengalis working for ETV here who do fantastic. Over a period of time, they develop even Telugu language. They turn into masters in Telugu.